Hello and welcome to the World Export Development Forum. Today I'm joined by the Executive Director of the International Trade Centre, Pamela Coke-Hamilton. Pamela, welcome to Trade Finance Talks.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Such a pleasure, and it's been a while since we last
spoke.
spoke.
About 2 years, right?
Trade, yes. So let's talk about this really important forum, and here we are in the wonderful city of Ulaanbaatar,
Yes.
Mongolia. So I guess given the landlocked nature of Mongolia, how can trade-led solutions help developing countries really recover from some of the crises we've seen, the pandemic, climate change, the current conflict?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think we need to look at what was the impact. And one of the major issues that arose was the complete disruption of the supply chains. And how do we ensure that those supply chains don't fall apart again? So what has started to happen is that a lot of companies have started looking at what we call friendshoring or reshoring or nearshoring. I call it strategic reglobalization. But in essence, what it is de-risking the supply chains. How do you ensure that there's stability, predictability, and some form of hedging your bets, so to speak? A country like Mongolia suffered because it has a 4,000 kilometer border with one major power and a 3,000 with the other major power. And so they find themselves in a very difficult situation. What we can do as in terms of trade-led growth is keep the investments coming. Invest also in digital. Ensure that we're able to make that transition to a digital space, because that is going to allow many countries, many developing countries especially, to leapfrog what was the third industrial revolution straight into the fourth and fifth with AI. And so they have to create an ecosystem that enables that to occur. And that is a very important aspect. The second aspect, of course, is also looking at how they can diversify their exports, diversify their entire basket of goods and move away from commodity dependence. So how does Mongolia stop exporting primary commodities? How do they start to look at value addition? Moving up the value chain, exporting in a way that actually enhances their ability to earn revenue and foreign exchange.
It's really interesting because coal is the number one export from Mongolia right now. I guess to your piece on capacity building, International Trade Centre plays a huge role in capacity building. Can you discuss some of those efforts and how they relate to landlocked and also less developed countries?
Sure. One of the first things we did on the margins of this WEDF was to host, along with the UN Office of High Representative for Landlocked, Least Developed, and Small Island States. It's a mouthful, UNOHRLS. But we hosted a program with the business sector and with the government of Mongolia to discuss the upcoming LLDC forum in Kigali next year. And one of the ways that we wanted to contribute to that is to actually look at the specific issues faced by private sector in landlocked developing countries, and what are the mechanisms that we can begin to put in place to address those challenges. Now, everyone knows that the major challenges for landlocked countries is obvious. The transit costs, no real access to the sea, therefore high transportation costs, high logistics, etc. But one of the things that has shown at least great opportunity is using digitalization to speed up the border crossings. So, for example, implementing the electronic single window, so that manifests can get there long before you get there. Implementing the electronic queue management system, so you stagger the arrival at the border of trucks. Reducing the tariff or what they call a major cess on trucks on weekends for some reason. Kazakhstan was able to pull that. When they did that, it actually reduced the cost by almost 35-45%. So how do you start to put in place digital mechanisms, electronic mechanisms that reduce the barriers to trade? This is the kind of change that needs to start happening. The same is true for the green revolution. How do you start to incorporate green technology in becoming more productive and more cost effective?
Thank you. And I guess final question, and congratulations for hosting such a diverse series of panels and also attracting people from such a diverse background. I think that's really important because onto this question, how is ITC supporting women-led businesses, which is hugely important, and also young people, the youth in trade, particularly it's got worse since the pandemic.
Yes, very much so. I think everybody knows the statistics on how women fared during the pandemic, mainly because of the fact that they were the primary caregivers. Even if they're professionals, who's going to stay home? It's mom, right? Who's going to teach them? It's mom. And so the impact on women was really incredibly disruptive. And not only was it disruptive from the perspective of work, it was also disruptive from the perspective of domestic violence. The increase was upwards of 45% in domestic violence cases. So what we have done just this afternoon is launch the She Trades Hub Mongolia. And we've done that in collaboration with Mongolia National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We've just signed an MOU. And what we're going to do is make all of our tools, all of our technical capacity available to Mongolia through this mechanism. And what we hope to be able to do is to strengthen the women's capacity to access markets, increase their business savvy, train them in entrepreneurship, help them in access to finance, all of these mechanisms that will actually empower women more in this space. And I think that combined with the President's commitment, I think will really redound to the interests of Mongolia. On the youth, yesterday we had the Youth Ecopreneur Awards, and that was really fantastic because it was on for the first time on green and land restoration. We'll be announcing the winner shortly.
Can't wait. And finally, as a successful, inspirational woman in finance, what advice would you give to young women, particularly those from BAME backgrounds, entering their careers today?
If I had been told this a long time ago, I think it would have been easier for me. Believe in yourself. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. You can. Yeah.
Pamela Coke-Hamilton, thank you very much for the interview. Here we are in Mongolia, Ulaanbaatar at the World Export Development Forum.
Thank you. Thank you.